I apologize for that. I forgot to start it. So as you're feeling this pulsing and receiving all of this beautiful nurturing energy, feel yourself floating effortlessly in this beautiful environment that has everything that you need. And this is the energy of the Ancient Mother. And that energy of the Ancient Mother is within you. We all carry it, whether we're male or female, because we have all been in that womb, in the womb of creation, in the womb of our own mother. So just really appreciate that as one of the qualities, or as many of the qualities that you carry within you. And as you nurture and nourish those qualities within you, that feminine energy comes to life in a whole new way. At whatever level you've been carrying the feminine, it moves into a whole new deepening within you, within your awareness, within your whole being. And we thank the Ancient Mother for always being a source for this unconditional love, no matter what. For always being present with us, for us, and within us in every moment of every day. Knowing that her unconditional love is always a part of us, and that we have the ability to be a conduit for that love, just as she sends it out. Our job as women in particular is to be the carriers of that energy, of that mother. The ancient water carriers were the ancient mothers. So allow that gratitude to bubble up as a stream within you, as a brand new stream coming out of the earth, being birthed by her. And just feel that flow. And visualize the sun shining on this stream that is you, being birthed from the mother. And you see the sparkles of the reflection of the sun all through the stream. And you know that that sparkling, that light, is your light, coming forth with the feminine. Being nurtured by the mother. So take another breath. Breathing that in, allowing it to integrate. This new awareness. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And if there's anything from that that you'd like to share, I would love to have that dialogue with each of you. Hmm. Does anyone feel like you're in a little different place now than you were when we started? Kind of yummy, huh? Mm-hmm. Anyone want to share anything?
I could share something.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. It would also be nice to see Ya's face because she's very much in the dark.
Yes, I did
Yeah.
to see your face. The light is bright behind you for
Yeah,
Joe.
unfortunately, that's my room here. It's
Okay.
like that.
That's
You turn
okay.
your face over, I can already see a little bit of you.
Yeah, there we go. That's
Thank
perfect. That
you.
helps. There you go.
Yeah,
I can see you.
thank you. I just want to first thank you for the beautiful, this beautiful meditation, connecting with Mother Earth.
Mm.
And actually, it brings tears to my eyes always when I connect to her in that way. Yeah. It's simply this love that she has, you know, the unconditional love that you were sharing or naming is just incredible. Yeah, it's so, yeah, mind-blowing is another word.
Well, how often in this 3D world do we get to experience that level of unconditional love?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's something that each of us long for. And we don't seem to, it's easy to forget, let me put it that way, that we carry that within us. Being in the womb of creation is being in the womb of the mother, is being within our own womb and honoring that feminine energy as ourselves. There is no separation.
Yeah, I found it really beautiful as a message from your meditation. Like, so in me, what happened was recently I also saw this message, maybe you saw it, from the Kogi. It's called Message from the Mother, I believe.
Yes, yes.
And then so in the mind, there is then a separation starts to happen. It's like, okay, there's the mother and there's me. But then in your meditation, it's again like, oh yeah, I am that mother also, and like we all are. So that brings back, yeah, like the instant being together, the instant unity with the mother. So that's very, very beautiful. That's specifically what I take out of this meditation.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
That it's a kind of a game changer for a recognition. And when we're able to embrace that and hold it with, because it's there, but hold it with the acknowledgement of that and gratitude for that. There is a reciprocity that cycles through us and around us that is palpable for those who are in our energy field and
yeah,
beyond that. Yeah, it changes the
yeah,
entire web of life in essence.
yeah. So it's really, I can also feel it like in my womb, like my lower belly is like, and it's also joyful. It's like, oh, we are embodying the mother. Yeah, we are embodying the mother. It's
And that's
amazing.
literal as well as figurative.
Yeah,
In our wombs, we have all of the minerals of the earth. We that the there is water. Our waters are in the womb, and her waters. They're all the same. And
yeah, yeah.
the light that
Indeed.
is birthed through that is the sun, and the feminine is that darkness, that magnetic darkness that pulls light into her to birth it.
Mhm.
And so she is attracting that light, the essence of the masculine. And so we are,
Ah,
as the embodiment of the feminine, we have masculine, that flow of, and the dance of light and darkness throughout our whole being is the dance of the masculine and the feminine. And especially now in these times, we tend to see the dark as bad, and what we want is the light. But that dance, that play of the dark and the light is critical. I
yeah,
spent,
and also, sorry,
pardon?
I just wanted to say that that darkness, what people refer to as what they want to overcome, is a different concept of darkness, because
It
this
is.
darkness is simply yeah, the womb, like the cosmic womb out of which everything is birthed. It's just a
That's right.
field of power, like creative field of creative power, and it's very
Infinite.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, but yeah, I like what you say about the yin yang dance in us, and it's interesting because I've been it's simply just right now, and through the meditation, it's simply all of this sank into a deeper like, knowing, or yeah, a deeper knowing of myself as being all that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, because that is my intention for this entire series. And each day that we come together, we will go deeper and deeper into it until there is no question in any of our beings that we are the embodiment of all of it. I hiked for 3 years just out in nature, and there were 2 cranes. There was a pair. They mate for life, and the cranes came every single morning right next to our campsite, and somebody was putting corn down, and so they were coming to feed on the corn. But the 2 cranes did this amazing dance. They were so tuned into each other, and one would eat. The long neck would go down, and she or he would feed, and the other one would be upright, just looking, watching, making sure everything was safe. And then it would just switch, and there was no signal that was palpable or discernible from either one of them. They just did this, just this beautiful dance. And it gave me a whole new, I'm watching that every day for at least 2 weeks. And I was mesmerized by it. And I, felt that flow through us of the masculine and the feminine. And the purpose of the feminine, the ancient mother, is to nurture and nourish all life. And the purpose of the masculine is to protect and be like a sentinel, to be sure that the feminine is able to open. Because when the feminine willingly opens and allows in that masculine light, she thrives because she is purified by that light. And he thrives because he is fulfilling his purpose. And that's supporting her and fulfilling her purpose, because that purity and innocence, it seems to these days especially require ongoing purification. And so our willingness to open, to receive the light fully into our inner waters, purifies our inner waters. And because we are one, when our inner waters are purified, the mother's waters are purified. We have so much within us that is the solution to everything that's going on in the world right now. Simply by recognizing and honoring that reciprocity and the complementarity between the ancient mother and the ancient father that is in each one of us, that is alive and well in every moment as we breathe.
I am sort of I also want to give the others speak, but I was just simply curious about how you say that light, I mean, it purifies the feminine, yeah, purifies the, and I'm sort of surprised by that, because yeah, I know, from my experience, the light for me is like, it's all frequency, so it's a very, yeah, the higher frequencies come in, and then that sort of shakes up the ideas, yeah, the convictions that we have that are stuck, and then
That's right.
starts to shake that, which cannot vibrate on that high frequency. But I never looked at it in that way, like the light entering the darkness and purifying the darkness. I'm sort of surprised, because in that darkness, where there, in my perception, like of the cosmic womb, there is no how is it? You could say there's no, it's, to me, the way I know it, let's say it that way, it's pure potential.
Absolutely.
So there is no impurity in there, it's just pure potential.
Within the, I totally agree with you. Everything that you've said, I completely agree with. And when the dark, when the light goes into, let's call it density rather than the darkness, it does shake it up. And there's a breaking up of the density, which doesn't feel very purifying. It doesn't necessarily feel good, because some of that density we've been holding on to for a while. So it breaks up the density and lightens it. Thank you for joining us, Martina. And and I absolutely agree that the womb is pure, and the light of the ancient father is pure. And we have picked up densities along the way that, in order to return to that level of purity, must be purified. And so the thoughts, when things get stirred up in us, when a button gets pushed, a trigger happens, or whatever it is, and we react to that trigger, it's part of the breaking up of the density. It's like light coming in to show us a density within us that no longer serves us.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So you, yes, it's all yes and.
Thank you.
Good morning, Martina. We just did a opening meditation, and we're just talking about the ancient mother and the energy of the womb. And we'll be deepening this every day this week, that relationship, that dance between the ancient feminine and the ancient masculine. Joe or Janine, would you like to share anything from that you experienced? It's not necessary. I just thought I'd offer. Janine?
Many things you just touched on, I feel similar realm of experience. So I'm also happy just to listen, and
Okay. I understand that. And as far as the water goes, because we're looking at all of this, as I said, through the eyes of water, through the essence of water. And the water was the first embodiment of the feminine. The ancient mother is a consciousness that is filled with feminine principles, that is the consciousness of the feminine principles, which for the most part are that magnetism, that openness to receive, that willingness to be vulnerable and open, and to receive that potential. Because the light exists even in the darkness as potential. And then it is able to be gestated and birthed through the womb of creation, through a womb, whether it's animal, mineral. That feminine energy is everywhere. It's the minutest subatomic particles with a negative charge are the first, beyond the water, the first embodiment of the feminine, the foundational embodiment of the feminine. And then the particles that have a positive charge are the masculine embodiment. And so as those dance at the atomic level and at the galactic level and the cosmic level, there is incredible beauty that is possible. And we see it every day in nature. She reminds us every day how exquisite all of life really is. So the original agreements in the ancient, in the times before time existed, the agreement was that by the souls that have become humanity, was that the mother, the ancient mother, nurturing and nourishing as she is, would provide everything that we need to thrive. And because all of nature is reciprocal and complementary, as souls, we said, oh, that is so amazing to have this opportunity to be the embodiment, to really feel on a very deep level within ourselves what everything that we experience, how it affects matter, because we will be that matter. So if we decide to explore anger and we take on the frequency of anger, we know what it does to matter, because we know how our physical body changes, how the function, the whole mechanism of our body, the chemical responses, everything changes. And so we can learn, as we learn that, with every single emotion along the whole emotional continuum, we become masters when we choose to respond with frequencies that enhance the web of life. Can you imagine if every human being on the planet made a conscious choice from everything that we've learned about our emotional responses to life? We have learned so much that we don't acknowledge on a day-to-day basis. Because when we respond with anger, all of nature feels it. The entire web of life is affected by that. It's like the butterfly effect. And when we respond in love, the entire web of life is affected. It doesn't matter how we respond. It's what we contribute to the web of life that is our choice. That's why we were given free will, that we can choose our response to everything, and therefore create heaven on earth. And we have the ability to do that with this awareness. So in this agreement, we said, thank you, Mother. Thank you for being able to provide all of this for us, that we may thrive. And in return for that, we we will care for you. We will care for you, and we will protect you, and we will nurture and nourish you back so that you too can thrive, that all life may thrive. That agreement has never been broken by Mother Earth, but it has been broken by humanity. And it's painful to watch that. I'm sure that we've all felt that. We wouldn't be here. And I have to say, I've cried a lot of tears over the desecration of the mother in every part of her being that is ongoing. And as the embodiment of a woman, most of us know what that feels like on some level. So, sensitivity, being an empath, has its ups and downs. And I've cried a lot of tears over what's happening in the world. And I've come to a place where when I cry the tears, I thank Mother, Thank you for showing me what you're feeling so that I can support you more effectively. It's a gift, and it motivates me every single day to only put goodness into the web of life and to support her, to do my part in that reciprocity piece. Welcome, Chantel. Which is critical, because that is what allows life to thrive. Any thoughts or comments from anyone on that piece? Yes. Thank you.
Well, I definitely agree with you there. Water, human emotions, they're
Yes,
all connected. I
absolutely.
mean, I even see it in the weather. Like, I'm from Ireland now. We're in winter. It's the stormy, rainy season. And I remember one day I was looking at a weather map, trying to figure out where all these storms were coming from. Were they blowing in west from the Atlantic? Were they coming from Europe? And I just saw something very interesting. I found that most of the storms, or the biggest storm we had back in October, was blowing in from the Ukraine. It was so weird. The clouds were like starting there,
Wow. Wow.
making their way over to us, then started the spinning cyclone of the storm. And that just felt like, well, that's the war. That's the negative energy of the war manifesting up into the sky, and then just like dumping it all over England and Ireland and Wales and Scotland. And there's been many other examples like that, you know.
Yeah. We do affect the weather. And from my perspective, climate change, this whole issue of climate change, is because of an imbalance. I was sitting meditating by the river, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. And I just sat there and I felt, I watched the river flowing, and she was flowing as one unit. It wasn't, I had never noticed it before, but I could feel just all of the water moving in unison. She was whole and she was moving, and there was barely a ripple in the river. It was almost like it was on one of those tracks that move, and all of it was just moving very gracefully. And I just looked at that and I felt that movement. I felt myself as her in that movement. And what came out of my mouth was, how are you able to flow so consistently with such incredible grace in the midst of all of this chaos? And she said to me, it was almost like she looked back at me as she was flowing by, and she said, well, this is who I am. This is what I do. She said, my purpose is to nurture and nourish all of life along my path until I return to unity in the ocean. And in that moment, I knew that that was my purpose, to nurture and nourish all life along my path until I return to unity.
Wow, beautiful.
Such a simple, seemingly simple, huge, and yet maybe profound is better than huge. But so I took that on and I embodied that in that moment. And that will never leave me at this point, because I got it. And then this is related to what you just shared, Martina. Good morning, Theo. Thank you for joining us. Then she said, and besides, all this chaos isn't what you think it is. She got my attention there. And she said, all of this chaos, the cause of it is the lack of recognition and honoring between the masculine and the feminine on this planet. And it has created a hole in the cosmos that has thrown everything out of balance. And I knew, she didn't say this, but I knew in this, I mean, it was a total download that I was getting. I knew that because humanity has free will and created that hole, we are the only ones who can heal it. It's almost like casting a spell, you know, the crone casting a spell, and she's the only one that can break that spell. No one else can.
Actually, it's uncanny that you mention the word crone, because here in Ireland, there is an ancient goddess called the Cailleach. She's
Yeah.
the ancient crone goddess, the ancient hag. She's the bringer of the storms and the rain. So it's just so uncanny that you mention her there, because she's a big thing here in Ireland and Scotland and England around this time of year.
Yeah. Well, the whole Celtic tradition is carried by the crone. Yes, the hag. Sharon Blackie's book, Haggitude, is wonderful if you're interested in that. I love that book. She's an incredible writer. Beautiful, all of her works. So this whole piece of climate change that seems to be, you know, looming over us and threatening us is something that humanity can fix. Because when we do, and I said this earlier, when we purify our inner waters, the mother's waters are purified. And we have disrupted the water cycle by domination and control. Greed, basically. Greed is underneath, is what underlies the domination and control. And I don't know what it will take to change that. However, I do know that what each of us contributes to the web of life matters. And that each time we choose to heal our inner waters, that hole becomes smaller. It begins to heal. And we can do that.
One of the things I find most challenging is to stay in a space of abundance thinking, which is the nature of nature.
Yes.
When the overculture of most of humanity is the proffering of scarcity thinking to the end result of greed, that I get more and you get less, and we all have to fight over everything because there's not enough, which is so opposite to the nature of the world. But it seems like such a hard cycle to break, and I find myself often removing myself from my culture because of that sapping of my energy, and having to go, you know, to quiet spaces and recharge myself and remind myself, yes, nature is abundant. I am abundant. The world is abundant. It is not a scary, unsafe place. We are just making it that way somehow for some inexplicable reason.
For the experience, I imagine. I mean, everything has a purpose, and there is an evolutionary process, just like the river flows. The evolution of humanity and life is a process that is flowing, and it has to go through certain bends and twists, evidently, in order for humanity to wake up. And I ask myself many times, sometimes during the course of even one day, what is it going to take? How bad does it have to get before humanity does wake up? So that's just an ongoing question. And the answer, not that I have the answer to that question, Joe, but what the river said to me that day when she said, when, you know, I asked that question, I'll just repeat the question for Chantel and Theo because they missed it. But the question was, to the river, how do you flow with such grace constantly in the midst of all of this chaos? And her response of, well, because this is who I am, this is what I do. And when we remember who we are the embodiment of the ancient mother and the ancient father, reclaiming our innocence and purity. so that we can shine that innocence and purity out into the world. When we claim that, it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on around us. We just we are here to be ourselves and to fulfill our purpose, whatever we claim as our purpose. And for me, claiming that I am here to nurture and nourish all life along my path until I return to oneness, that is what makes sense in these times. It was just simple. I mean, it just kind of happened instantly in that moment. But her response seems to me to be the answer to the solution to that dilemma that you talked about, Joe. And I get that. I feel that too. And taking on those principles of reciprocity and complementarity and embodying those principles makes the whole idea of lack seem ludicrous, ridiculous. It's a non-issue when we are in that flow with the cranes of reciprocity and complementarity, where we're there for each other. We're here to support each other. That's one of the reasons why these offerings are free. It's like, well, we need that support now. And coming together is a beautiful way to feed that mutual reciprocity and complementarity. And so how we respond to all of this matters deeply. And just as one more piece to that might be helpful, and another meditation, this was over a decade ago, I was given an equation, and I'm not much into math. I'm very right-brained, and I never liked algebra when I was in school, never got any relevance out of it at all. But this equation was given to me with an explanation that every equation, just a reminder, because I didn't pay attention in algebra, every equation has to have at least one given. It has to have at least one variable. And what we do to one side of the equation, we must do to the other side of the equation in order for it to be true and balanced. And that's bringing that reciprocity and complementarity into that equation. And so the equation was S plus R equals O. S is the given. It's the situation we find ourselves in. It's what the universe has put in front of us to say, okay, show me who you are. Every situation that we encounter, whether we like it or not, is the given. Plus R is our response to that situation. Equals O is the outcome. And so because of the way my brain works, I immediately flipped the equation. So it's O equals S plus R. And so I looked at the O first because the outcome is important. So I asked myself, okay, what outcome do I want to see here? What is missing in this situation that is needed? And we are, I'm sure we're all empaths here. I tuned in to the situation, and compassion was missing. It's like, whoa, we need compassion here. So I breathed in, just like we did in our meditation, the opening meditation, and I brought in all of the capacity, all of the entire infinite capacity. What do I want to say? Compassion. There's capacity in there. I increased my capacity to hold compassion. There we go. That's what was trying to be said. And just filled myself with it. And I responded to the situation from that place of total compassion. And instantly, the outcome had compassion in it. It's alchemy, it's magic, it's
Mhm.
foolproof. And I actually, this is uncanny because I've never met a NASA scientist before. But within 2 weeks of that meditation, I was at a gathering and there was a woman there that I was just talking to. I didn't know her. She introduced herself as a NASA scientist. And she was talking about all the things that she'd invented using equations, and she'd invented heat shields for space capsules and all kinds of things for NASA. And hello, Dana. Welcome. And after she finished telling all of her escapades and all the things that she'd done, there was this moment of silence, and the whole group was just, no one said anything. And I broke the silence and I said, well, I have an equation. And she said, really, what is it? And I told her, and I explained it in much the same way that I just did for all of you. And she got very quiet, and all of a sudden she disappeared. And about half an hour later, I saw her walking back toward me with a piece of paper in her hand. And she had gone into another room and done some calculations. And she had them on this little piece of scrap paper, and she handed the paper to me. She said, do you know what you have here? And I said, well, I know it works because every time I do it, it changes the outcome. And she said, I have been looking my entire career for an equation that is true to infinity, and I've never found one until now.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, and I was just so grateful because it was the universe just validating to me that that is foolproof. It can't not work, because if we are bringing something into the equation, it's there. And we have a choice as to what we enter into that equation, into our contribution to the web of life. And the ancient mother is there, is within us to guide us. The embodiment of the water is the ancient mother running through our veins. It's running through our whole, it's soothing our whole nervous system and the craniosacral fluids and the lymphatic systems that cleanse our bodies. All of the fluids are the waters within us, our inner waters. And so we carry that. We are never separate from it. There is no such thing as separation. I imagine that in the moment when matter was created in the cosmos, in what we call the Big Bang, because the first thing that existed was darkness. The womb existed first. And then sound came, the waves of sound moving through the womb, so that the contractions could happen with the fluctuations of the sound frequencies. And then water became part of that flow. And then light was birthed through the womb. That's just the way it's been given to me. And so in the moment when actual matter, through that, what we call the big implosion or explosion, for the first time, atoms actually existed. And I was seeing myself there and looking around and saying, whoa, this is different, because we'd always been waves of energy before it. All of consciousness just multiplied itself. So it's still consciousness within those particles. But the sense was, oh, this is different. Wow, I'm here, and you're there, and you're there, and you're there. So that means we're all separate now. But we didn't realize, even in that moment, that we couldn't possibly be separate, because the unified field is the container within which we all exist. And there is no separation. That has been a misunderstanding right from the very beginning. It does look that way, yes, but that doesn't mean that that's true. Because the unified field is called the unified field for a reason. There's lots of names for it. The plasmic field, I mean, there's lots of names for it. Just like there's lots of names for God all over. But ultimately, there's one source. So, so that might help kind of give you a perspective of that relationship that we're going to be talking about all week between the masculine qualities, the principles of the masculine and the principles of the feminine, beyond men and women.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would like to add something because Martina was sharing about these winds coming in. Of course, we also have them here, and I have exactly the same feeling like you, Martina. Is like, okay, you know, this is all this war, this violence, and you can hear it in the wind. It's like you can almost hear the people crying.
Yes, yes.
And what I do when that happens, and that sort of fits in with your equation, is then I connect with the wind and I say, you know, I speak like in my mind, like I hear you, you know, it's sort of welcoming, like sort of calming down this energy. Yeah, like, you know, when you are, you know, when you are as a person in pain or you are in fear or you're, you know, dying, you need holding. So
Mhm.
yeah, like holding and this soothing energy, which is the mother energy.
That's
like
right.
Holding everything in compassion. So that's what I do with the wind, and it feels really good to me. And I always have to, you know, I always feel heard actually. And I always tell people like you know, when, for example, one time I was having to take the bus and because the car broke down and I had to teach, and there was this huge dark cloud coming. It was like, oh, I'm standing here and there was no roof, you know, and I was just praying, please, you know, if it's okay, like for the whole, if it's possible, just don't start now, just wait till the bus comes, which was late always. As the bus came, I stepped in and then it poured, but like, you know, like amazing. And I was with my suitcase with computer and everything, material for teaching. And I was like, you know, thank you. I always feel that I am heard, actually. Yeah.
We are when we're coming from that pure place. I mean, we're always heard, but the response depends on where we're coming from. Because the frequency that we are emanating in any given moment is what goes out, and more of that comes back to us. It goes out, it collects like frequency energy, and everything travels in cycles. The water cycle, the life cycle, our energy as creators, whatever we create, we put out, and it comes back to us. So when we're coming from a pure place of love, what comes back to us is total nurturing and protection and love.
Mm.
So it's perfect. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
It's
I have the same experience with ceremony. That's why I also wanted to talk about ceremony, because that's such a beautiful, for me, is like the way to connect to Mother Earth and to bring that peace and that love and that harmony and that togetherness and that, you know, bring the good vibes in. And then people tell me I have a fireplace in the garden and I invite people and they're like, for this solstice, you know.
mm-hmm.
You know, a solstice without a fire and prayer, for me, I can't, you know, no option. So I invited people, and then I forgot to say, okay, you know, if it's raining, we can also sit inside. So everybody's like, no, you know, with this weather and when it's snowing, and you know, I'm not coming. but when I do ceremony, there's the way I envision it. It's always perfect timing. Also with the rain is a blessing. The sun comes out at the perfect moment. Nature always is part of that ceremony, or just now I'm speaking the language of separation again. But in the way you name this, it's like, okay, we're just one. Yeah. And sometimes I have the feeling like it almost seems like I'm the only one dreaming this world, because the response. So yeah, it's like, how is this possible? Yeah, is it just my dream? It's very strange.
Yeah. And one of the, I think it's 5, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but one of them is about nature's dreaming. One of the sessions this week, and my subtitle for that I wrote came to me immediately, is that nature is dreaming us awake.
Mm-hmm.
She's giving us every opportunity to wake up and to tune in and to remember who we are. And it's that remembrance that is so key in our responses. Because if we're responding from a place of lack, then, that reciprocity comes back to us. We create lack, and it comes back to us multiplied. So we definitely don't want to do that. It's not serving us. So when we're coming from that place of wholeness and a remembrance that our words, our thoughts, even before our words, our thoughts are sacred. Our words are sacred, and our actions are sacred, because they do affect that whole. So it's really not rocket science. It's pretty simple. And I know that I've never said anything to anyone that they don't already know. So I don't call myself a teacher anymore. I've been a teacher my whole adult life, but I've stopped using that term because I'm not really teaching anything. I'm a remembrance facilitator, because I'm helping people remember and reclaim who they really are. When I say things that resonate with you, it's not like you never knew that. It's just waking up the memory. I'm sure you can all agree with that. So, yes, Martina?
Just listening to you talk there, Deborah, we are so connected to the natural world and the waters, and like we can have an effect on it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes wonder, will this planet ever really know through harmony with the human race? Because like I myself, I can't control what's going on halfway across the world in Ukraine and Pakistan. And even knowing like that's not even just killing people and causing that unbalance, it's causing an unbalance in the earth, in the elements. And it sucks to be so powerless. It's kind of like Pandora's box, you open the lid and you can't close it. Once you know what you know, you can't unknow it. It's both a blessing and a curse. And I'm just asking, how do we make a difference when we don't have control over what people are doing halfway across the world and are messing it up for the rest of us? I guess those thoughts go through my mind quite often.
Yeah, absolutely. It is overwhelming, and there's a lot that we see every day that is literally painful, like I said earlier. So we can't change things outside of ourselves, and we know that there is nothing outside of ourselves. So when there's a war going on, like, let me just give you an example. When we went to war with Iraq back a couple of decades ago, I was horrified, and I cried and I cried. I couldn't believe we were doing that. And I had it on the news. I watched news then, conventional news. I don't anymore. But I had it on the news and I was listening to everything that was going on. And I went to make my morning cup of tea, kind of a ritual. And I put the bag in the cup and I poured the hot water in and the cup exploded. And I mean, I cleaned up all the water and it was like, wow, that's weird. And so the next day I had the news on and I went to make a cup of tea and I poured the water in the cup and it exploded. It happened 3 days in a row. So after the third one, I stood back and I said, okay, what am I missing here? And I realized that I was angry and that anger was coming out sideways. And the universe was showing me that that does not serve anything. So our response to the situation at hand, we've got a major situation going on here. Our response matters in a huge way. And the more, have you heard of the law of entrainment? One of the universal laws. It's a law that basically says the strongest energy wins. So if you have a friend who's down and you go to cheer that friend up and you sit and talk and your intention and your desire and your frequency is high enough, then before you know it, the two of you will be sitting there laughing together and you will have cheered her up. If you're not so solid in that, and she is really in it deep and it's stronger than your ability to stay positive, then you will entrain with her and you'll both end up crying. Not that that's bad. I mean, sometimes that's what's needed, but the strongest energy wins. So an example of that is in a clock shop, all the pendulums will entrain with a grandfather clock. Even if you stop all the pendulums and you intentionally set them all so that none of them are synchronized, within a relatively short period of time, they will all have synchronized with the grandfather clock. So, I mean, I get this information and it just goes in and I say, okay, then I'm going to be the grandfather clock or the grandmother clock, whichever way you want to do it. If we are holding our frequency of innocence and purity and love and thinking of that purpose, or at least one of the purposes that we have, the underlying purpose to nurture and nourish all of life along our path. If we are living the reality of that, then we become the grandfather clock and everyone around us shifts their frequency. So we have these concentric circles. And when enough people are doing that, those concentric circles start to overlap. Before you know it, love wins.
Beautiful image.
So it's like being a pebble in a pond. You throw a pebble into a pond, it creates ripples.
Absolutely.
You are ripples, right?
And our goal is to have enough pebbles thrown in the pond so that all of those ripples overlap and become a unified ripple, something like that.
So to take your example of your equation and focusing on the O rather than the other two parts, what I'm hearing is I can't think of the things that are happening in the world that are counterproductive to us as something I have no control over. I have to think those things happening in the world don't have control over me.
Yes, and just language-wise, because part of what's created that hole in the cosmos is because of the need, the perception of the need for control. We are here, just like I mentioned, when we recognize that everything that we create from within our being, every thought, word, and action that is sacred, impacts the quality of the web of life and either adds to that hole or it begins to heal that hole. Then we recognize that it's not about control. It never has been about control. It's about mastery. And when we master our own responses and we become the grandfather clock in those responses, and people entrain with us in our environment around us, that's a game changer. It's about mastery. We cannot control anyone. I mean, we try to control and, you know, it blows up in our face. It doesn't come out the way we want to because it's not about control. Nature, I mean, when you think of nature as a beautiful dance between the masculine and the feminine, the mountains and the trees are overall, I mean, I've met grandmother trees, so I know that there's a weaving here, but basically trees and mountains and the air and the fire are masculine. The earth, the water, and much of the, what do I want to say, the aliveness, the life force in nature, including ourselves, the overall frequency there is feminine, and it's the dance between the masculine and the feminine. I was meditating, actually I was doing a session and I had a vision that ended up being part of the session of trees all along a riverbank. The riverbank was deep down into the earth and it was flowing, and there were trees all along both sides of the riverbank. And I saw those trees as sentinels, looking after the water, protecting her, and supporting the water cycle, because the trees pull up the roots, bring it up through their trunks, out into the leaves, then it transpires and creates a water cycle that is constantly replenishing the water. So the purpose of the trees is to constantly replenish all life, humanity. I mean, we couldn't survive without the oxygen that the trees offer, and we couldn't survive without the water. And the trees are like sentinels. They're protecting us. And, you know, people go and cut them down. It's like, really? It's crazy. So mastery, shifting in our own vocabulary, shifting control into mastery is another game changer. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Water as women, I mean, Mother Earth, nature, and woman are one. We are one. And women, do you know a woman who likes to be managed or controlled? No, we're supposed to partner with nature, listen to her, listen to what she needs and offer it. And all this water that is being mismanaged all over is because they don't understand that she's a woman. She has no desire to be controlled. So seeing through those eyes shifts our ability to step into mastery. We need that information, that remembrance, to be able to step into mastery and just hold this space of being who we are, fulfilling the reason that we're here, no matter what. And no matter what has become a mantra to me, because it's like, we don't have at this time, with the urgency and the energy that is here, we don't have the luxury anymore of going into a place of hopelessness, of feeling too vulnerable, of not feeling safe. When we don't feel safe, we need to go sit under a tree and feel that masculine energy coming down and protecting us, and allowing ourselves to open. When we feel most vulnerable, what we need is to open and bring in more light, which is also masculine protection and cleansing. So with that, that's kind of an introduction to a meditation that I think would be beneficial at this point. I think we're at that point where that's what's needed. Does anyone have anything that you want to share before we do that? All good?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to share. I'm super grateful for this gathering, and you were speaking out about the women, and our strength is so that for us as women, it's easy to connect. That we have this,
Mhm.
you know, when the women get together, they easily connect. Yeah.
Yes.
Yesterday I was with one very feminine man and 5 women. And that's our strength, because then we are unifying, yeah, in an energy.
Well, the Dalai Lama said it's Western women who will change the world. And I don't know about specific Western. I mean, Western meaning Europe and United States, that area. I think that we have been brought up in the West to have a level of independence that is now shifting back to interdependence. As women, I mean, women have such an advantage because we carry the energy of the womb of creation within us. We carry that unity. We know what it feels like for women who have given birth. We know what it feels like to share space with another as one. We have that reference point, and we all have that reference point because we've been in our own mother's womb. We may not remember being in the womb of creation, but we do have a sense of what our gestation was. We may not be able to describe, oh yeah, I remember that, and you know, we may not remember it consciously, but the memory of being in our own mother's womb is there. It's in us, and it's really no different than the memory of being in the womb of creation, except for the fact that how do I say this? Humanity has evolved, I guess I can say safely devolved into a place. There is an evolution. We're going back up again, but we have devolved into a place where there's a lot of wounding. And the wounding is passed from generation to generation. And if that's true, then healing can also be passed from generation to generation. And my sense is that is shifting now so that we can pass on the healing rather than the wounding.
Wow.
So that's a huge shift. But what we experience in our own mother's womb was the beginning of the programming of the 3D world, because our mothers were programmed from the 3D world. And when we go to the womb of creation, we go back to that place of total purity. And actually we can add that piece to the meditation, because we can visualize being in the womb of creation while still being within our own womb, and bring that back to a pure state. The first time I did that, I was blown away. I had an ovarian cyst rupture, and I was in agonizing pain. I didn't know at the time what was happening, but that's what was happening. And I just closed my eyes and visualized being in the womb of creation and taking on the mitochondrial DNA of the womb of creation, as opposed to my physical mother's DNA that carried that wounding. so that I could transcend that wounding, not only for me, but for all my ancestors before and all my offspring afterwards. So, and it happened, and the pain went away instantly.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
so there's, it is alchemical. It's so magical when we realize that we have that ability. Go back to the time when everything was still pure and reprogram our whole being. So, so let's, this time is passing really quickly. I knew that an hour wouldn't be long enough, so I went with an hour and a half, and even that's, that's coming up. So, go into this place of total remembrance that brings up this bubbling spring of joy from deep within your being. Become that spring bubbling up inside you. Feel that movement. Feel the energy of the joy of being birthed as a pure spring. And the springs and the creeks are the children of the rivers. Feel that purity. And then as you're feeling this movement upward in your body, bring that energy, that frequency of joy in the depth of your waters. Let it move all through you. Just feel that. They're being birthed out of your own womb. Birthing joy. Every day is possible. We have a womb that is one with the womb of creation because we know how to nurture and nourish life. Our bodies are designed to nurture and nourish all of life. We can gestate life and feed life. And even after we've stopped bearing children, we continue to birth what is needed from within us to be that frequency, to be that piece of the equation, that variable that can turn everything around. So breathing into your inner waters. Then I invite you to, while you're still breathing into your inner waters, focus also on a light above your head. We'll call it the central sun. And breathe that light down through the top of your head, down into your being, and feel yourself opening. Feel that, those beautiful feminine waters open to receive this light. Magnetizing it. Water is magnetic. Earth is magnetic. The feminine is magnetic. See every cell, every molecule, every atom in your being as a magnet pulling in this light. Adding to that sparkle of joy that you have birthed from within yourself and bringing more sparkle into the water, more life into the waters within you. Feeling the flow of those inner waters within your being. Remembering the ancient mother, remembering the unity with the ancient principles of the feminine, to simply be a source for love. And when the light comes in and not just shines on the waters, your inner waters, but is absorbed into the inner waters, there is a sacred union between the masculine, the light, and the feminine, the waters. And what is birthed from that sacred union is love. And humanity has the ability, through our own consciousness and our free will, to birth love and joy every moment of every day. And as we do that, the mother is nurtured and nourished. Again, as we purify our inner waters, our oceans, our rivers, our streams are purified, and innocence and purity are able to return to our consciousness, to our everyday experiences. And we are able to respond from that place within us of awakened innocence and purity. And when we're able to do that, the streams and the creeks are purified. Feel that unity, the flow of every level of life force with this dance of the elements of the earth and the water as the feminine, and the fire and the air as the masculine. And there is a flow of the waters through us, and the air provides a flow for the fire to move through us, all in symbiotic harmony, reciprocity, and complementarity. All in the flow that enhances life. Receiving exactly what you need in this moment. Returns you to a state of wholeness. And those elements are all woven into the space that holds your essence, which is the entire cosmos. Every cell, molecule, and atom in your body as a magnet to pull in light for the sacred union of your sacred waters and this light. And I invite you to bring a couple of breaths into your solar plexus, because the solar plexus is your central sun within the microcosm of your being. And give permission for that, for your solar plexus to light up. That fire that burns within you, the fire of digestion, the fire of your entire metabolism, the fire that pulls you toward your purpose, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. See that central sun within you, aligning with the central sun of the entire cosmos. And nurtured and nourished through the ancient mother in the womb of creation, to birth through you those thoughts, those words, and those actions that can heal the whole in the cosmos, bringing us all back into balance, awakening all of life to remember that we are one beautiful family, here to create environments for each other within which we may all thrive. With that, I invite you to give yourself permission to thrive. Because it is when we let go of the lack that we come back out of separation into unity. Lack can only happen if we isolate or are separate from. And we now understand that that is absolutely impossible because we are part of a greater whole that is held together by love, the love that we create, that we birth within us every day. We thank the elements of space, of air, fire, of water, and earth for informing us, reminding us that we are one, that our bodies are the embodiment of the perfect flow of all of those elements together. And we see this reflected in nature, in the beauty, the synchronicity, and the love, unconditional love that nature shows us. That grand presence of an incredible mountain, of a majestic oak tree, of a redwood that stands so tall and so powerfully present. We have within us we can stand in that presence as a tree, rooted deeply into the earth, supporting the water cycles, supporting the cycles that cleanse the air, that cleanse the waters, that heal the earth. For we will not heal as long as we are harming the earth. And the moment we open to the flow of love for ourselves and for the earth and all of nature, with deep appreciation and gratitude for being given all that we need to thrive, that's all that is required for life to thrive. We have that within us. We carry it. And we can birth that potential with every breath that we take. To feel that truth. within you. Feel the power of that and step into that power. Say yes to you. Say yes to unity. And know that when we step into that place of unity with a big yes, that the entire cosmos is working with us to support that yes. And just even in this moment, with the yes from each of us, that hole in the cosmos is a bit smaller. And the love that we are grounding into Mother Earth is sprouting new life throughout the planet. She is healing. She is thanking, since we are all women, she is thanking her daughters for hearing her call and coming together on her behalf. That all life indeed may thrive. We speak this, we intend this with a pure heart, and we know that it is done. It is done, it is done, it is done. And we continue to continue. Blessed be, and so it is. Thank you for being here, for joining this very powerful gathering. Same time, same place tomorrow and every day this week. If you want to come back and join us again, that would be beautiful. I will record, so if you can't make it, the recordings will be on the 7 Days website, and I will also put them on my website, so which is sedonasoulintegration.com. So you'll be able to access them either way.
And your website is also on the page of the...
Yes, yes, it is.
But maybe you can say it again.
sedonasoulintegration.com. I'm in Sedona, Arizona.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of this. We have gone over just a little bit, but if anyone has anything that you'd like to share before we close, I am happy to hear. We complete?
Thank you.
Let this sit with this all day today. Feel it gestating in you and birthing through you. And we'll take it deeper tomorrow.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Many blessings. Yeah. Thank you, Theo, for that comment. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too.
I'm trying to